Hey guys, Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my counter. Now, as you guys know, we moved from California to Washington and I am creating this before our stuff arrives. So I am making do. If you were wondering about the lighting and the shadows and all of that fun stuff. So today I'm going to be scrapbooking these two photos. Now, these are of redwood trees down in Fort Bragg in California, and I'm going to be using the Sophisticated Spring paper collection. Now, this is a beautiful paper collection with lots of fun plaid pastel colors. I also pulled two stencils. I have these two right here, my embossing ink, and then some embossing powders. I have gilded, rose gold, and alabaster white. So I have a plan. I hope it turns out. Let's see what I can do. Okay, so I'm taking some of these pieces of pattern paper from the Sophisticated Spring paper pack, and I am pixie spraying my stencils onto them. And I'm just making sure that that they are going to stick down on there because I am going to be using some mixed media through these stencils. So I pull out my mat. I'm going to go ahead and place my embossing ink through my stencil. Now, this is a good technique to use with a stencil spray like pixie spray because when you are popping your embossing ink pad down, you do have the inclination to move the stencil. It just naturally happens. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be able to do it without a spray or something like that, but I will tell you it is much, much easier to do it with that. So I'm going to use my embossing powder. I've got rose gold. I've also got some alabaster white. These are both beautiful, beautiful embossing powders from Brutus Monroe. Now, I have always liked heat embossing, you guys. I think it's magical. So look at that. Look at it getting all smooth and melty on that paper. It's so good. And I have always enjoyed heat embossing. Like I just love it. Like it is one of those things where you just love it. It doesn't matter if you don't do it for 6 months or you do it every day, you love it. But I have to tell you that Brutus Monroe embossing powders changed my whole lookout on embossing. I find them to be high quality. I find them to be really easily melted. I just find them to be great. Now, embossing powders, I will say, do have a shelf life, not as short as a shelf life as, you know, your glitter glaze, but don't buy it and hoard it and let it sit in your room. Like, use it. It is a powder, you know, use it. So there we go. I am adding some gold on here and then doing the rose gold again. And yeah, I know I am an embossing nightmare. I'm gonna own it, right? Like I am an embossing nightmare. I make a mess. I watch other people's videos where they're just so nice and neat, and you know, the embossing powder doesn't fly everywhere. They don't have it going all over God's green earth, but I'm a messy crafter and I have come to terms with that and I'm okay with that. And if you're a messy crafter, that's okay. If you're one of those awesome people that can sit there and emboss and not have any kind of residue flying anywhere, I am in all of you, but I don't want to be like you. Let's just be honest here. So now that they are all embossed, I'm going to trim down the papers into 2-inch strips. Now I've gone ahead and pulled a piece of paper from my stash, and then I'm going to layer the strips over here on the left-hand side of the page. Now, I thought that that was all I was going to do, was just go ahead and place it over here on the left. But after I got my pieces placed, I decided that I needed more, right? Like I needed more of this embossing gorgeousness on this layout. So I am making sure to alternate the two different stencils that I used. so that they aren't right next to each other. So you can see the circles and the florals. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it down on this side of the page too, because why not? Right? Why not? So I throw some adhesive down, and then I'm going to go ahead and place these down as well. They're not going to go as far in on the page. I mean, obviously, because otherwise, what's the point of having a pattern paper background if I'm just going to cover the entire thing up? I do cover a good amount of it up, so if you're having heart palpitations because you're using so much patterned paper with so much of it covered up, then I would suggest using just like a white sheet of cardstock, putting your pattern paper down in a, like a 6-inch strip or whatever, and then putting your papers over it. But that way, I feel like you might be saving your pattern paper, but you're using more cardstock or whatever. Maybe you have an ugly piece of paper you'll use as your base. Whatever works for you. So I am loving this. I just think that it is beautiful, gorgeous, and I am going to pop some fun foam down over top of my photos, and I'm just like, oh, look at this. Look at this. Look at those redwoods, right? Like, you guys, I'm allergic to trees. But I just think redwoods are gorgeous. Like, I could never have a real Christmas tree growing up. And one time my mom decided that we were going to have a real Christmas tree because my stepfather, her husband, figured I should be over it by now. That Christmas sucked. I was stopped up. I couldn't breathe. My eyes were all swollen. I was swollen. Like, it was a travesty. So taking pictures of trees might have more of an emotional connotation to me because I love trees. We are living someplace that has trees again. Where we lived in California, not a lot of trees. There were some palm trees, but not a lot of trees where we lived. I got trees here. I'm loving the trees. So maybe I'm getting a little bit emotional about the trees. I don't know, but how about I stop talking about the trees and we'll get back to the layout. So now I am putting down some words. So it's going to be you and me and the trees, because even though it just started raining. Even though you and me aren't in these photos, we were there, and they will be in a succession of photos. This is in Fort Bragg when we went on the skunk train. So, I don't have a problem using those kind of titles when we aren't in the photos, because it'll be in a succession of story. I've got these little framey things that I pulled out of my stash, and I just decided to outline my photos in it. And then that is going to do it for this layout. You guys, look at that. Some pattern paper, some embossing powder, and bam, you have got a beautiful, gorgeous layout. And I don't know where beautiful, gorgeous came from, but it is like popping in my head right now. So I'm going to keep on saying it until it pops out. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again real soon for another video.